Fulton coming to you on a Victory Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. The Royals will not go 0-4, but most importantly, the Royals will not go 0-162. 1-162 is still a possibility.
Well, it'd be 1-161.
It's still a possibility.
Technically, yes.
It is a possibility. But the Royals getting off the schneid in a big way. We will talk plenty of Royals baseball here this afternoon. We'll talk plenty of Chiefs, talk a little Major League Baseball. We've had now a few games to discuss some of the new rules that are going out there, how it's been implemented. We'll talk about that. Talk some NCAA hoops. Lot to get to on this edition of Mic'd Up. Jake and Fulton caster with you. Let us know your thoughts. Are you back on the Royals bandwagon? Are you back on board? Did they suck you back in? Or were you not in at all to begin with? Let us know. Hit us up on the text line, 785-272-9429. Outside of Topeka, 785-272-9429. Let us know. You can also check us out on our website, 580wibw.com. Also check us out on our YouTube page. Go to Sports on 580 in YouTube. Very easy, very simple. Click subscribe. You can check us out on Twitter at Sports on 580. So easy, so simple for you to join in on the action today on this Tuesday. The Royals are back in action tonight, trying to go for back-to-back wins. And the question still remains, what will the reaction be like for Whit Merrifield?
It does, because he did not play last night. He will likely play tonight.
Assuming so.
I have to assume, since Chris Bubich will be the starter for the Royals, lefty on the bump, the Blue Jays will stack the lineup with right-handed hitters.
Yep. So
I assume we will get to see Whit Merrifield this evening, but who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
I do know that the Royals won a baseball game yesterday.
Yeah, they did.
And
almost like someone said, if you give them some time, the numbers will even out and everything will start turning up roses.
The bullpen made it.
That's its own problem. No, that is its own problem.
Bit more interesting, although they had, the bottom of the pen out there and not,
Well, they had the bottom,
ones.
and then they had Dylan Coleman, who's supposed to be the top, but he has not looked well to start.
That wasn't great. What was great was Brady Singer. Now,
Yeah.
I don't think Brady was dominant, but I thought he was really good.
Yeah.
And this is what your number one is supposed to do. Do I think he had his A stuff? I don't think so. I really don't. But that's what makes a number one a number one.
Mm-hmm.
When you have your A stuff, you will beat anybody. You will mow them down, just like he did last year when he was dealing and everything was cooking. You couldn't touch him. It's when you've got your B game and C game, are you still able to eat innings and give up few enough runs and grind out 6 innings, 3 runs to give your team a chance? This was not his C outing. I thought this was a B outing for Brady Singer. Had 3 walks. You could tell the command wasn't maybe the greatest, but he allowed just 2 hits. And when you've got an above average defense behind you, to me, you need to play to that. That's why I can't stand walks. When you've got a good defense behind you outside of third base, you should
let play to contact a little bit in some situations.
Okay, a little bit. I'm not just saying.
Don't always play it. Like, strikeouts are still always good. Strikeouts are the best thing you can create.
Yes.
But when you have a good defense behind you, you need to be willing at times to take the risk of they will put the ball in play.
And
that's why being aggressive in the zone is important.
And know who you're going to be aggressive to.
Yeah.
If you're going to be aggressive, to Joe Schmo, great. Don't be aggressive to Yordan Alvarez. Not a good idea.
For the Blue Jays, don't pump a fastball down the middle to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That ball is going to go take a dip in the fountains. But, like Kevin Biggio, throw him something on the plate and make him do something with it.
Yes.
You know?
So I thought that was something that he did do through had 76 pitches and 45 of them were strikes. He allowed 1 run. Wasn't great.
You could tell there was a bit of the fatigue from not being fully built up. The wall was being hit.
Definitely.
Which is why I think the walks came through and they were, you know, the wall. But even with the wall being hit, he had bases loaded, nobody out, and gave up 1 run.
That's a win.
That is a win every time.
But that tells you that, hey, you know what? He didn't have his A stuff. That was B stuff, but he grinded it out. And that's the difference between, you know, the number ones and
like the 3s and the 4s.
Exactly. Like out of your 25 starts that he'll make this year, 5 of them are not going to be good.
5 of them he's going to have F stuff and nothing's going right, and it's just going to be a bad day at the office.
But the rest of them,
of them,
the goal is to have that 3.0 ERA and mow them down, you know, for 5 starts and then just find a way. And that's what I thought was great. And here's the cool thing about this. Brady Singer's last 25 starts, 20 of them, so 20 of his last 25 starts have come following a Royals loss.
Tracks.
He's now 9-4. Don't really care about that.
No, win-loss record doesn't mean anything.
I mean, it's kind of nice, but
it's nice, but doesn't mean everything.
That does mean, you know, that he went deep enough and they had the lead and they didn't blow it. So it does mean something, but it does mean, you know, the end all be all.
Yeah.
But what's most importantly, in 20 starts following a Royals loss out of his last 25, his ERA, when they need him, is 2.94.
That'll play.
That's top 5 in the American League.
Huh?
That right there is top 5 in the American League. And that, to me, is why the hope is that last year wasn't just a 1-year deal, that it's a 2-year deal, and it is hey, this guy is going to be the next Kevin Appier for the Kansas City Royals, is a guy who could go out there and pitch well and hopefully be on better teams. That's the whole hope. Kevin Appier, one of the most underrated pitchers.
Kevin Appier was so good
in baseball, but he played for the Royals, who stunk. And he didn't get the credit he deserved. But that was excellent yesterday, and that's why, truthfully, the Royals are now 1-3. Was Singer gives you the opportunity. We're gonna talk some Masters. You know, we'll get our picks tomorrow. What Brady Singer did today was shoot a 68. He kept you in contention. Then the offense finally showed up, and that there was the reason that they were able to keep the lead. If Brady Singer gives up 4 runs in 4 innings, the Royals are probably not going to win the game. They're probably not. That's the start. It was great to see the offense get going early. It really, really was. Everybody had a hit except for Nate Eaton.
Yeah.
And a lot of the hits were not, you know, ground balls with eyes or dying quails. They were well hit.
Yeah.
MJ Melendez had 2 hits. One of them was the hardest ball he's ever hit.
Hardest and furthest ball he's ever hit in his career.
Bobby Wood Jr. had some good hits. Vinny P had some good hits. Nicky Lopez is getting triples.
Nicky Lopez hit a triple.
You know,
that actually happened.
So, like, I that's more of, hey, it wasn't luck, you know, where, oh gosh, we had a walk and then a flare and then an air and a dribbler, and there's 2 runs. That was not
the Royals had a game plan last night at the plate. They saw what they wanted to see, and they were attacking.
Yes, and that is really good to see. Yeah. And so it was a fantastic get off the schneid type of deal, because 0-4, people start talking. People at work, oh, great, the Royals 0-4. Oh, man. Oh, geez. Oh, man. If they win tonight, it's almost as if, like, the first 3 games, did not matter. They really didn't matter. If you would have told me, Fulton, the first 5 games of the year, the Royals are going to go 2-3. You want to know what I would have said?
That's a win. Book it.
Hey, you got a chance to get into 6 wins by the first.
Yeah, Lord, do I need that? I need 2 wins a series and we can get home.
That's all.
3 here would be really nice.
Go 2-3 in your first 5 games against 2 playoff teams, because I think the Twins and I think the Blue Jays are probably going to make the playoffs. Heck, Dave Lesky said that he's got the Blue Jays winning the whole thing. I think Dave's crazy, but I've got the Angels in the World Series, so I'm a little crazy.
You're both a little crazy, I say, as I have the Seattle Mariners in the World Series. We're all a little crazy around here.
So that was a lot of fun to see yesterday.
It's a lot of fun.
Mainly that Singer came out, and I like the fact that he just didn't. And here's how I know that he didn't have his A stuff. He had 3 strikeouts. Okay.
Yeah, and more importantly, and where I see
3 strikeouts and 3 walks. Yeah. That was not a typical Brady Singer start last year.
And you could tell at times his good stuff flushed. I mean, there was the Brandon Belt appearance where he threw back-to-back sliders down and into Brandon Belt, who just, those things interchanged being a strike, but Brandon Belt was just like, I'm flaring because I don't know what I'm doing. So like he showed flashes of the stuff being there. Part of it was just simply he just didn't have the workload, so he just got tired a lot quicker. But no, it was nice to be able to go to the 5 innings, to only give up the 2 hits. That was really nice to see, the way he was trying to navigate that lineup, trusting the defense a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the way the defense picked him up. And then it was just the offense having a coherent plan. And that's what it always is they just know what they're doing. And come hell or high water, they're just going to try and execute it. And it's, if Jose Barrios gave them something straight in the zone to hit, they were going to try and hit it. And it finally all started to fall. And it was nice to see everything come together and rally through. And the biggest sign for me that this coaching staff is a little bit different and they might approach things a bit differently. When Nicky Lopez hit that triple, Jay, did you have the same thought I had at first and second, nobody out, that Nicky was going to drop a bunt down right there? Because I would have bet under any previous regime that was a Nicky Lopez bunt all the way.
I never know, because they never honestly told us whether or not they called for the bunt or the players.
Yeah,
bunted.
They never did. But I will say this. It's a very small sample size because it's 1 at bat. I'm certain to believe that they were always calling it, and Nicky was maybe helping a little company line by being like, well, I also, was in there.
Well, even back then, like Ned didn't say anything. And,
yeah,
and Matheny
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Nonetheless, in a situation where I thought for guaranteed they were going to play the small ball and advance the runners, they let Nicky swing away and something good happened.
Here's the thing.
That's an entirely random thing that really doesn't matter at all, but as an anti-bunt guy, I was happy to see it.
I'm not anti-bunt.
Oh, I am.
I am pro bunt in the right situation. Okay. When was that? When did Nicky hit the triple?
Oh, goodness gracious. It was
third inning?
Fourth? Third
inning?
or the fourth.
I can pull it up here real quick. Okay. You should never bunt prior to, like, and I'm talking ever, forever, before the 8th inning.
I'm cool with that.
Okay, you should never bunt before the 8th inning, ever.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Ever.
Yeah.
Because it was the 4th inning.
Yeah. Don't hand away outs.
Not that early.
No.
If it's the 9th inning, and
you can come talk to me, and I might be willing to listen to you in the 9th.
Overall, am I anti-bunt? Yes, but let's say it's the 9th inning. Nicky Lopez is up to bat, okay? There's a runner at second base, no outs. I've got no problem
with Nicky bunting again into third, so then a fly ball could get him home to win the game.
You've got 2 at-bats to just get something. And in that situation, runner at second base, nobody out, game-winning run, or it's the tying run.
Mm-hmm.
Nicky Lopez is up right now, depending upon the year. Once again, wild situation. We're talking about nuance here. And then you look at it and you go, okay, well, I know a base hit gets him home. Sometimes a base hit to right field with a guy on second, if it's hit so well, he doesn't go.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
So
There's nuance in late game situations.
Yes.
But overall,
fourth inning, if you bunt.
Yes. My big
home.
thing was, I think we all know in previous Royals regimes, it could have been the fourth inning when I had seen it gotten dropped down, and I would have ripped my hair out my head.
Yeah.
So that's a tiny thing I like saying. But just, again, overall, it was nice to see the offense finally was able to get rolling and get some momentum and the positive vibes in the clubhouse.
The best parts about the game, hitting-wise, were Melendez squared up 2 balls.
Yeah, he did.
Previously, he hadn't.
Yeah, he was on a struggle bus.
And Bob got off his 0 for 10 Schneid, but he got his 3rd walk in
already
4 games.
Yeah.
It took him, this is not great, 21 games last year to get his 3rd walk.
Bob's learning plate discipline.
That is
a
excellent,
beautiful development.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
That and Hunter Dozier still stinks.
Yeah, well, we all knew that. Hey, he drove in a run.
Blind squirrel, acorn.
I know. Hey, but good for him.
A broken clock is right twice a day.
But good for Hunter. He did something right for once.
Yeah.
He drove in a run and got a hit. Good for him.
So overall,
still don't want him on my baseball team.
Much better evening it was.
Yeah.
Coming up next, the national championship game went as expected. We'll get to that coming up next. Championship goes to the UConn Huskies. They were absolutely dominant in the NCAA tournament. One of the most dominant runs in the NCAA tournament that we have seen. This run reminded me of the Villanova in 2018 run, when they just, especially in the Final Four, they just smacked everybody. They were excellent. And the game went as expected. I mean, it went as expected. Started off back and forth. UConn went on a run. Their defense held up. SDSU couldn't find anything. But because they're all 34-year-old guys, and they got, some experience. They mounted a comeback. They got it to within 5. And then Hawkins hit a 3 to go up 8. SDSU missed the front end of a 1-1, which is another reason why I like 1-1s. They are penal. That is a huge negative. If he missed the front end, he gets the second. He makes it, it's a completely different situation. No, you got to earn them damn things. Missed the front end, so he missed 2. And then SDSU fouled stupidly. UConn made both of them. A 5-point game turned into a 10-point game in 90 seconds. And it was, as we said in the 2000 dunk competition, over. It was over. It wasn't, I thought, a great game. I really don't. I think Hawkins is fun to watch. If your name is, Joey California, fantastic name, by the way. Terrific name.
Sounds like just a random extra on a set or something.
It sounds like a guy who's just, Joey California just sounds awesome. Okay. It really, really does. And that was pretty much it. I mean, not a lot of flair, not a lot of sexiness to it. But just a dominant performance, by UConn at the end of the game. And they got pushed. This was the closest game that they've had.
And this is one with actually to show some resiliency, a little bit of fight.
And they had that. This is another great nugget. Okay. UConn played 17 games this year against non-Big East teams. They won all 17. They went 17-0 against non-Big East teams. And they won all 17 of those games by double digits. That goes to show you your conference knows you. Yeah. They know they know your in and outs. They know what you're going to run. It is so much harder to beat the teams that know you as opposed to the teams that don't. And that is fascinating. It's the 4th largest margin of victory by points per game since the field expanded in 85. This was a buzzsaw. Was not, I mean, it was not like a fun game to watch either.
No.
It really, really wasn't. Just to let you know, do people love the Blue Bloods or not? Apparently they don't, because last year, Kansas Nova got 11 million viewers. This year, FAU SDSU, 11.9 million. Interesting. We'll find out the numbers on the title game coming up. Coming up next, Matt Derrick joins us to talk Chiefs. We are going to head to Kansas City to talk all things Chiefs football with our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick. You need to follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Derrick. You need to go to ChiefsDigest.com for all things Kansas City Chiefs when it comes to the off season. The draft is approaching, ladies and gentlemen. It is a month from Thursday, the April the 27th. That is what is going to be happening. But right now, we're going to talk all things Chiefs with our main man, Matt Derrick. Matt, how are you doing on this April 4th?
I'm doing okay. It's getting a little warmer in Kansas City than I expected. So I don't know about you guys. I'm not going to lie. I'm got my first sweat of spring going on over here.
I'm all for that. I am team heat. Give me 105 over 30 any day of the week.
Like a psychopath he is, Matt. Like a psychopath.
Any day of the week.
Yeah, I don't know about 105, but I will generally take heat over cold any day of the week and twice on Sundays.
I can if I went home after this and it was 105, I can mow the yard, I can go outside, I can play ball with my son, we can swim in a pool. He can play in his water table. He can go swinging. Can't do any of that in 30-degree weather. You can't. So that's why I am team heat and team heat 24/7.
I've had 2 knee surgeries from slipping on ice, and as I often say, you cannot slip on sunshine.
Yeah. It's you can't shovel it either. I don't know if you know.
That is true. That is true. I have never tried to shovel sunshine,
No,
but I would rather try to do that rather than shovel snow.
I get home, like when I get home, because there are times, in January, December, when I leave the house and I drive home and I've got 3 inches of snow on my driveway. And great. Now I got to drive home. I'm like, oh gosh, let me go out and get my shovel. I got to shovel this 85-degree weather. Oh, this is terrible. So yes, team heat all the way. All righty, Matt. Latest news for the Chiefs is that they're bringing back Deion Bush. Good move, bad move. Are you surprised? Not surprised? How do you evaluate it?
It's a fine move. It's a low-cost move, depth move, special teams move. I think that checks all the boxes for me. So I've got no problem with it. I mean, he was a strong special teams player last year. Probably be kind of a similar role this year as, being a fourth safety with the lineup that they've got coming back. So, yeah, I think that's fine. They should be in good shape.
Do them signing another safety means that they think maybe Edwards could play a little bit of the dime corner?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that right now would be the plan. I mean, I think it would definitely be, Bush is fairly similar role last year. I mean, remember, he was essentially the fourth guy last year, and Cook was, increasingly the dime corner as the season went on. So I think the only thing you see right here is that Cook will be stepping into the lineup. I think Edwards will be your third safety. He's the guy that would be your dime guy. But I think the thing is that they feel like all those guys are flexible. They can move them around. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it is just, simply one player in one role. I feel like that entire trio with Reed, with Cook, with Edwards, they can deploy them in a pretty flexible way. So they don't have to necessarily shoehole in some guy into one role. They feel like those guys are flexible enough to play multiple roles.
this really eliminates drafting a safety, right?
Yeah, I think it would pretty much. I mean, hey, you can always take a chance, and hey, Bush's deal is fairly risk free. So if they picked up another safety that they really liked, I mean, they could certainly move on. But I think it tells you a lot about the fact that they feel like it's pretty valuable in special teams. Hey, they could carry a fifth safety if they needed to, but I think when you look at the rest of the secondary and the young guys, you got a guy like Nazeeh Johnson that is a corner now, but could certainly play safety in a pinch. They're set there. So unless somebody really fell into their lap at the right place, yeah, I don't think safety is necessarily a position of need in the draft.
So when it comes to the other kind of roster building, they're still thin at D-line. Is this more or less now for the next 3 weeks? There's really nothing going to be happening until the draft. But as I say that, the last couple of drafts, there's been some big trades going when it comes to that. So is the roster pretty much set until the draft, and you don't see them making a big trade before this draft?
I can't say that, because I would say that as far as the trade front goes, I think you're probably safe in saying that it's probably going to be pretty quiet until the 20th or the 21st. I mean, that week before the draft, you'll probably start to hear, every team in the league will start kind of kicking tires on possible deals and everything. And the Chiefs, I would expect to be amongst them. I mean, if they're able to find a player they like, I mean, they certainly. Brett Veach is willing to make deals during draft week 2 and during the draft itself, so that hey, if he needs to move some draft cap or draft picks to go get somebody that he likes, he's not afraid to do it. This is kind of a quiet period. I mean, unless there's a loud move around the league, like involving a receiver per se, so maybe somebody like DeAndre Hopkins, and there could be some signings. Although the signings get more interesting at this time of year because you get the window with draft pick compensation coming up too, and teams may be a little bit less reluctant, maybe more reluctant rather to sign somebody right now. They might want to wait until after that deadline. But hey, there still could be some small moves here and there. But I think it would be draft week before you really see trade talk start to heat up.
What day is that date for the draft pick compensation for compensatory picks for next year?
I believe, if my memory is correct, it's May 9th. It's like the second Tuesday or something following the draft. It's a weird kind of date, but yeah, it'll be after the draft and after the beginning of May.
We're talking with Matt Derrick. He covers the Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com. You need to follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Derrick. And when it comes to the Chiefs and DeAndre Hopkins, there's rumors that maybe he could get released. I just find that fascinating how that they're going to get why they would just release him and not get anything for him. But it sure sounds like, and it looks like, whatever that they were asking, nobody is even approaching it.
Yeah, well, that could be part of it. And the other part of it, too, is that DeAndre Hopkins has about, I think, $34 million due in the next 2 years that his next team would be on the hook for. And that's the other complicating factor, because I think there would certainly be teams interested in meeting Arizona's price, which has reportedly continued to go down. Problem is that are they willing to match DeAndre Hopkins' price? Because all accounts are that at this point, which could be true, could be false, are that DeAndre Hopkins wants all of that money. And if that's the case, then a team picks him up, is going to, I think, have a $15 million cap hit this year and $18 million next year, I believe, somewhere around that ballpark. That's a lot. And at his age, you would expect that a team picking him up in a trade would expect him to rework that contract and either spread that money out over more years or, frankly, take a pay cut. And if he's not, willing to do that, which, he hasn't come out and said so flat out, so we are making some assumptions here, but if that's the case, then, you really got two prices that need to be met. And that gets more and more difficult. So that's why, the calculation that maybe, teams are going to play chicken with the Cardinals and see if they'll release him is because, to the Cardinals, from a cap standpoint, the release or a trade doesn't really matter. I mean, it will affect their cap the same way. It's just how will the other teams acquire him. I think a lot of teams would rather have a fresh deal with DeAndre rather than picking up the remainder of that contract.
So then why would they release him then? Have him play. Like, he's above average. He's not, to me, elite anymore, but he's, still a good wide receiver. Would I like to have DeAndre Hopkins on the Chiefs? Yes. Would I like to give up draft capital and have to pay him that money? No. So if you're the Cardinals, why would you just say, okay, yeah, we'll eat the cap and you won't play for us? Like that, to me, that's stupid.
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? I mean, unless it is simply a matter that relationship has gone so far south that they feel that it's going to be a detriment to the team, or they feel like that's money that's not being well spent, that he's not worth the money at this point in his career, you have to reason that one of those two things is true. So, I can't discount the third thing, which is that, as I've often said, there are usually about 8 teams in the NFL that don't know what they're doing, and I think the Cardinals have firmly attached themselves into that group of 8.
Are we now at the point of the NFL where now stars can just, decide when they want to move on, kind of like the NBA? Like if somebody's like, I'm done playing with this team, they eventually get what they want.
It sure seems like it, doesn't. I mean, especially, with the big money deals. I mean, I think that's one of the things that you kind of get. I mean, especially with guaranteed money. I mean, it's creating that situation. And yeah, I mean, it is similar maybe to the NBA in that, the player has a pretty good way of forcing things by souring the relationship. I mean, if the player doesn't want to be in a place and they're able to, taint the atmosphere, and a team doesn't, to the point where a team doesn't want them around anymore. I mean, yeah, it makes it pretty easy to force your way out. That wasn't necessarily the same when there wasn't as much guaranteed money in these contracts. But now that the guaranteed money is there, it shifts a little bit of the power, more power to the player. So you are seeing players with a lot more authority over where they're playing than they used to have.
Alrighty, do we know any of the incoming rookies that could be drafted are headed to the Chiefs for meetings? We're hearing all this. CJ Stroud is going to the Texans for a meeting, and so-and-so is doing a meeting, and all of that. Do we hear anything from the Chiefs?
Yeah, there have been a few rumblings here and there. I mean, Quentin Johnson was, I think, the big one a couple of days ago. It was being mentioned that he's going to be having a visit with the Chiefs. And, it really gets complicated this time of year because, especially agents like to have their players associated with certain teams. And sometimes the terminology gets thrown around a little pretty loosely. But remember, I mean, these top 30 visits that teams get, where they get, 30 players that they can come in, they're called top 30. They're not usually really top 30 players because the Chiefs are one of the organizations that use a lot of those in-person visits on simply players that have red flags, guys that they want to, do their own medical on. I think Justin Ross was one of those guys last year that they had come in because they wanted to check out his foot and see how it was. The later round picks will absolutely be in that category in that conversation. And positions of need will certainly be that. So you'll see some big names like a Quentin Johnson coming in. There have been a few others, but the other thing too is that teams now can have 5 1-hour Zoom interviews with these players. And that's been a game changer because that really makes a lot of the, we talked about informal visits at the combine or in-person visits at the combine. Talking to the Chiefs personnel and executives, those things just don't matter much anymore. I mean, they're so insignificant compared to those Zoom interviews that even though you don't, you're not in person, I mean, it's digital, I mean, it's virtual, but you still get to spend an inordinate more time with these players than you used to. And that, I mean, to a degree, I mean, I almost pay no attention to the informal or the pro day visits, anything like that, because we don't get to hear a lot about those Zoom interviews, and those are probably more important than anything else outside those top 30 visits.
If I saw a mock draft. We talked about this yesterday on Mock Draft Monday. Sorry you don't get to participate in Mock Draft Monday because we talked to you on Matt Derrick Tuesdays. But Mock Draft Monday, there was one that had the Chiefs selecting Quentin Johnson at 31, which I was like, that's awesome. They should never draft him at 31 because if he's there at 25, you should trade up to get him. I think there's a possibility that he could fall to that spot with how many quarterbacks might be taken. But if they brought him in for a workout, now we don't know if it's going to be good or a bad workout. But to me, if I am fully on board, if from here on out in the future, if a guy falls to where they think, wow, this guy's, the Trent McDuffie example last year. Oh gosh, that's a guy that we think is terrific. If he falls to 21, we are going to get that guy. And it turns out that was a correct move. I would be all on board if they would move up to 25 to get Quentin Johnson specifically at wide receiver for that need.
Yeah, and here's a great way to look at, not just the first round, but every round. The Chiefs will have their draft board, and they're usually plus or minus 190 players on the draft board. Well, remember, there's 250 odd picks in the NFL draft. So, it's not like the Chiefs have 31 players and 32 players on the board for every single round of the draft. That's not it. Oftentimes, especially the first round, they've got 15 to 20 players they have a first round grade on. So if that's the case, and one of those players that you've got a top 20 grade on starts falling to 21, you're going to get interested in a hurry because you're suddenly getting what you see as value. So that's exactly what Trent McDuffie was last year. This was a player the Chiefs thought was a top 15 player. He falls beyond 20. Suddenly they get very interested. And that'll happen in other rounds too. It's the same way. You won't have 32 players with a second round grade. If there's a player at 31 you like, hey, you may get them there, or maybe you want to trade down and get assets. I don't think that's as much in the Chiefs' play as this year. But, a guy like Johnston is really interesting to me because I have a mock draft that'll be coming up later tonight at Chiefs Digest, and I'll give you a little, clue here. Quentin Johnson in this one, and using a simulator, he went number 6 overall. So it tells you a little bit about, hey, there's a randomness to these drafts, and but it gives you a sense that you're right. If I'm the Chiefs and I want a receiver in the first round, and it's somebody I've got a first round grade, and they're not off the board by 21, teams are starting to get calls from me if I'm Brett Veach, because that's the move I want to go make, because you're probably not going to be able to sit there at 31 and get that guy.
I do love a good mock draft. When did you say that's going to be out on your site?
I promise it'll be up tonight. I'll even text you, Jake. I'll let you know when it's finally up.
I'm excited about this. I love a good mock draft.
You may not be as excited about what I got at 31, but there might be some other interesting picks along the way.
Oh, it's the multiple round mock.
Oh yeah, I went all 7 rounds on this one.
Okay. All right. Okay. It kind of looks like we know who the Chiefs are going to play in Deutschland, in Munich. They really going to send the Bears over there? Are they really going to do that?
It sounds like it because, remember, all indications are, I was told last year Chiefs and Buccaneers were a done deal to Germany until Tom Brady decided to unretire. And that took it all off the cable because they didn't want to put Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes in Germany. So, yeah, that's in keeping with teams, putting a less than marquee matchup. But that's the crazy thing. This is a Chiefs road game. So, correct? No, it's a home game. So, I guess that makes sense. The Bears aren't giving up, Patrick Mahomes in Chicago or anything for it. So, it makes sense. But, these games don't seem to always be great marquee matchups. Eventually there'll be a good overseas game, but I didn't necessarily think the Bears would be it, but it certainly seems like one of the kind of games, because the NFL just doesn't give away. The networks here, they don't want to put the best game on at 9:00 in the morning in Midwest. So, yeah, I think it's going to be the Bears you're stuck with.
Man, look, I'm all for it. That means, we'll be watching a game early on and we get to kick the snot out of the Bears.
They should. Absolutely.
So, don't get me wrong. And I don't think the NFL wanted to send a good team over there. I really do think that. The Bears might be the worst team that's on their schedule. Like, they're literally going to play the worst team on their schedule.
Yeah, I think you're right. And like I said, that's kind of in keeping. And once again, teams, I don't know necessarily how much the teams get to choose their opponent. I think there's probably a fair amount of negotiation there, and there's discussions with the teams about making sure that it's good for them to go at the right time. But remember, every NFL team is now going to be required to play one of these games in each cycle. So, everybody's going to have to play it eventually. And you're right. Nobody wants to give away a good game. So, yeah, the Chiefs don't want to be playing the Bengals in, a home game in Germany. So it's always going to be one of those. It's always going to favor the home club. You got to imagine that's probably the best for the teams. I don't know how much it's great for the game, but and remember, the Chiefs are dying to go to Germany because they're really trying to build that brand over there. And they feel like there's a place for them, and they are targeting Germany aggressively.
I thought they'd play like the Jets or somebody there. You know what I mean? I don't know if they have the Jets as a home game this year or not. I haven't looked. Do we know that if the very next week it's going to be a bye week, right?
It should. I mean, that's normally the game plan. So I would imagine that they would have the bye week after that.
That makes sense. All righty, Matt. 2 for the road. Last 2 questions I've got for you. The very first one: what position do you think the Chiefs will take in the first round?
Ooh, very, very good question. I will give a multiple choice answer because I think if the Chiefs trade up, I think that they are going wide receiver. If they sit back at 31 and take a player, I think it will most likely be an offensive tackle or defensive lineman. But I would say if they had to commit me right now, I'd say offensive tackle at 31. Anywhere else, wide receiver. All
righty. And lastly, today, because it was WrestleMania over the weekend, did you watch any of the WrestleMania over the weekend?
I have to admit, I have not watched a WrestleMania since it was on in place of Saturday Night Live in the 80s at 10:30 on a Saturday.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But you have watched it then.
I have watched it.
Okay.
Probably Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant was involved. But
okay.
I watched it.
That's okay. So what we're going to do today is we're going with wrestling wrestlers finishing moves, So do you have a favorite wrestling finishing move that a wrestler did?
Oh man, I remember. Gosh, there was like a wrestling video game back in the day, in our arcade game. It was like a tag team game, and so you could have multiple player and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember playing that a lot, and that was just the pile driver was the
tombstone. Okay, yeah.
So I think I got to go pile driver.
That. I don't want to say it's on my list, but I can tell you that the tombstone pile driver it's up there.
I'm just proud we're all knowing things here. I'm proud of you guys for being a part of the good knowledge here.
Like I've said, 5th, 6th, and 7th grade Jake, big wrestling guy. Matt, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great, guys. Take care, everybody.
Matt and Derrick, ChiefsDigest.com. Got to check out his mock tonight. When it comes to the wrestling side of things, I think everybody at some point in time in your life was into it.
I think a high percentage of the population would be.
Oh, yes. Especially males.
Yes, especially young boys. Young boys at some point in your life, you were down with pro grabs.
Yeah, yes. I really do think that. I think
I can see it.
However long it is. Now, some people, I never understood this.
Okay.
Some people are like, oh, wrestling's so stupid. It's fake. Blah, blah. I'm like, all right, cool. You watch General Hospital.
Yeah.
You watch, Days of Our Lives.
As I've always have said at this point to those comments, sure, that's fair. Wrestling is just a soap opera with stuntmen, and it's very entertaining.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's why. What is the difference between Vanderpump Rules? And don't tell me that some of that stuff isn't scripted.
Oh, all reality shows are heavily scripted.
And that, I know someone who's gone through The Bachelor, right?
Yeah.
Who went through the process and all that.
Yeah.
He almost got selected. Okay.
Good
friend of mine. It is way more scripted than you realize.
That's how it goes.
So miss me with that. And I'm not on the hill of wrestling is, amazing.
It's very fun.
But yeah, miss me with all that. We're going to talk MLB and new rules coming up next. Mike up. Thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday edition. The Kansas City Royals Victory Monday. Or Victory Tuesday, beg your pardon. It's Victory Tuesday. We got a lot to get to this hour. Dan Lucero will head in, a little crosstalk. We'll talk a little Chiefs free agency. We'll get into that in the 2 o'clock hour. It's time for Odds Makers. Fulton. Back.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. We got a lot to get to. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Outside of Topeka, 785-272-9429. Royals get the win yesterday. They're in action tonight. We're going to talk, though, a little bit more about just the rules changes in baseball. Okay? First and foremost, the pitch clock. It's affected. There have been a lot of outs happen because of the pitch clock. Who was it? The Milwaukee Brewers? The guy struck out because he didn't get in the box, and it was on the batter. And the catcher for the Brewers faked going around the horn because the pitcher still had the ball. I thought that was kind of funny. But the pitch clock is working, folks. It is working. The Royals' first 4 games this year have taken 2:32. It's 2 hours, 32 minutes. 2 hours, 18 minutes. 2 hours, 35 minutes. 2 hours, 37 minutes. Here's what it was last year, the first 4 games. 2:49. 2:49. 3:09. 3:37.
Good Lord.
Okay. It is working. It is speeding up the game. Jeff Passan has a little bit more when it comes to the numbers, all right? So the first 4 days of the MLB season by the numbers, 50 games. Average time of game this year, 2 hours and 38 minutes. Last year, 3 hours and 9 minutes. We do the segment on Fridays called On Second Thought. 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, when this was first thought of, this is my biggest, on second thought. I didn't think a pitch clock would speed it up that much. I really didn't. I thought, oh, guys, that's not needed. Not needed. Not needed. 30 minutes is a substantial amount of time. I thought it might shave, 9 minutes. You know what I mean? I thought, Oh, okay, so you're going to make this drastic change and make everybody do things differently
for 9 minutes.
For 8 minutes. Instead of 3:09, it's 3:01, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that why are we messing with it? Come on, let's. We got bigger fish to fry, believe you me. 30 minutes
is a lot.
Is substantial. 30 minutes is a big number. And I think, and what I'll be most interested in is right now, and if you watch the last couple of games for the Royals, pitchers are pitching it with like 8 seconds left on the pitch clock because they are focused on it. Once 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month gets in, will they get a better idea of, okay, I can take some time and pitch it with 2 seconds left routinely where you don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? Like you get into the rhythm of the game where you catch it. And then now Brady Singer has always been quick.
Yeah.
Okay. When he gets it, his step back, step forward, I mean, he's not, Nestor from the Yankees at times, but he's not Nestor from the Yankees at times where he's, back and forth, taking forever. But I think what you're going to see is pitchers get more of an understanding of, okay, I catch the ball. I can walk around the mound once, get there and go.
Yeah.
So I do think the 238 will increase, but I don't think by much. So this has worked. It really, really has worked. 238, and the flow seems a lot better.
Oh, okay?
Yeah. We'll wait and see once the end of the year comes. If there is my one question is, would there be time to breathe? Can the moment build? 3rd down and 14. You got 40 seconds before that ball is snapped. You can look over to your left, look over to your right. Heck, I know some people drink a whole beer in that time. So I wonder about that.
Yeah.
So far, the Royals haven't been in any, exciting game finishes to have that situation. But overall, the games have been, 237. Will the Royals play a 3-hour game?
At some point, yeah.
You think?
They'll hit a game to where it's like 14-12, where it's a weird day and everyone's scoring.
It was 9-5, and there were a bunch of pitching changes.
Yeah, we still got buzzing.
237.
I think there's a chance we could get up there and rare, but I think we're going to see a lot fewer 3-hour games on the nose because this thing's moving quick and it's great. And my biggest thing has always been this. It's just the fact of the flow is better. The pace is better. The fact of the matter is when you are watching a game now, there is a rhythm to it of more consistent action. The detraction against baseball a lot of the time has been that there's not a lot of action in the game, that there is, a big gap between moments of action. That's what you got to fill. Whereas for right now with the pitch clock, that's kind of going away. And you see a pitch and within a few seconds, like, oh, we got another pitch again. All right. I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying this quicker pace. I think it's a great thing for the game. And these comments are starting to go by the wayside, which delights me. But any comment that there is now less baseball being played is factually incorrect. The exact same amount of baseball is being played. You're just not getting to see a higher percentage of it in the time you're watching.
It's just quicker. That's all.
The dead time is what's being kicked out. Yeah. There is no baseball that's being eliminated. There's absolutely zero baseball being taken away. What you're losing is guy wandering around on a mound for 30 seconds for no reason, pondering what his next meal is going to be, or a guy in the batter's box needing to adjust every inch of his clothing. We're done with that. And I'm happy we're done with that because that was useless. Completely useless.
Now let's get to batting because we have done banning the shift.
Yeah, shift has been restricted.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Vinny Pasquantino would not have a hit if that shift was in place.
Yeah, that's true. Would have lined it right to a man in short right field.
Right to him. So batting average, it's 4 games. I get it. But it was 4 games last year. So we're keeping the sample size very small.
Yeah, we're keeping the sample sizes the same. So
Yes.
while they're still small sizes, they are at least the same size.
The experiment and our hypothesis are judged on the same type of control.
Same scale. Yeah, we have the same control happening here.
Last year, 230 batting average, 308 on base, 374 slug. This year, 245 batting average, 323 on base, 392 slug.
All those numbers went up.
Batting average of 15 points. I can tell you this, if you bat 290 and all of a sudden you're batting 305,
you're going to make yourself a nice little payday.
You're doing all right. So far, the main goal of these rules were one, more action.
Yep.
Okay.
Eliminate dead time.
Yeah. Speed up the
create
game.
more action.
More action. Quicker game. More action. Batting. More people getting hits.
Yep.
The
More
hits they're
balls
showing.
in play.
Yes. Balls in play. That's happening. More people on base.
Yep.
That is happening. Alrighty. Now let's look at stolen bases.
The most fun number, I think.
Last year, 29 stolen bases out of 43 attempts, 67%. This year, 70 of 84 for 83%.
Good Lord.
So we've got more than double.
And we're doubling our attempts.
Doubling the attempts and more than doubling success rate from 29 to 70. Now, a lot of that's because you're doubling the attempts. You're going to get more success. But the success rate has gone up 15%. What does that mean? It means more action. Everybody loves the stolen base. Everybody does. Stolen bases are fun, okay? If you don't like a stolen base, then I probably don't want to hang out with you as hard. Okay? There's nothing great like you see him take off, and then the pitcher or the catcher catches it and flings it down there, and you get the slide, and, you know, you just look cool, okay?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, stolen bases are up substantially. And the Royals used it to their advantage yesterday.
Yeah,
granted, they had to get on base.
Yeah.
And they did that yesterday, and they stole a couple bases. So I do think that right now, through 4 games, all of these rules have been a big success. They really, really have. I was golfing this weekend, and I didn't know the person we were golfing with, but eventually it comes around, hey, what do you do for a living? I'm a sports director at a radio station, which therefore they want to talk all about sports.
Yep.
So they asked me, what do you think about the new rules? And I just said, I think it's speed up the game, you know, just more action, you know, I think it could be good. And the response was, I don't like it. I'm a baseball traditionalist. Okay.
I love these people.
And they said, well, what do you need bigger bases for? Why are you changing the base? And I said, in my mind, I said, that's the one that you're upset about?
Yeah, that's what I would say. I'd be like, that's the one we're picking out here? That's the one?
I didn't bring it up because I'm not about ready to get into a back and forth about baseball when I'm trying to golf and just hang out. Plus, I don't know you guy. Okay. I was in Phoenix. So, but he said, you know, I'm a baseball traditionalist. That's fine. Here's the thing. Sports, just like society, just like everything, changes. It evolves. And if you do not evolve and you do not adapt, you will not survive.
Correct.
Look at Blockbuster Video. Look at the Nokia cell phone. The Nokia old school cell phone is still a top 5 cell phone of all time because that thing, you could drop that from a blimp and it's still going to work. Nokia did not change. They did not adapt. The BlackBerry. And I'm not talking about Chuck Berry, who happens to be a BlackBerry. I'm talking about the BlackBerry, the phone. They didn't adapt. And what's happening to the BlackBerry? Gone, right? Blockbuster didn't adapt. Gone. Like, newsflash. People in their early 30s, don't want to sit and watch a 4-hour baseball game. They're not going to go. They're not watching it on television. You have to adapt. You got to do something. Otherwise, your beloved sport isn't going to exist.
Yeah.
So I'm not blaming the traditionalists. I'm not. But that's just like, blaming other things that have MySpace, right? We all had our top friend. You probably didn't. You weren't old enough. You had your top friends, right? You were like, oh, man.
MySpace.
And it was a big deal. Oh, man. John's got me ranked 4th. What the hell, John? He moved me up to 2. You know what I'm talking about? It's like basically like the Seinfeld speed dial episode. Like, what? Why is he putting you on 2?
Good episode of Seinfeld. That's a good episode of Seinfeld.
And he's like, I'll put you in the emergency number section.
Yeah.
You got to adapt. And this is baseball's way of, oh my gosh, finally trying to do it.
Well, and here's what I'll say on that front. This is what's funny about any person who's like, I'm a baseball purist and that's why I don't like these rules. All Major League Baseball is doing is moving the game back to 1985. That's all they're doing. Everything you're seeing now, they're not doing anything new. They're putting in rules to roll the game back is the strange thing. Like, if you showed this type of game, but didn't say that there are rules, like you censored the pitch clock, took away any mentions of new rules, and just said, person who only knows of baseball in 1985, watch this. They consider it almost the exact same game.
Yeah.
And the reason everyone's going, oh, it's different is because we're having to mandate it. But, like, the pitch clock's been an idea floated around since, like, 1973.
Well, back then, they were quicker.
But, yeah, but they didn't need it because guys worked quicker.
Yeah, get their stuff and
guys pitching 20 seconds between it was just what you did back then. We didn't have overloaded shifts. Guys stole bases. Ricky Henderson was who Ricky Henderson was. I'm not sure other guys doing stuff too, but Ricky was Ricky.
And he said Ricky was Ricky.
He did a lot. Ricky also says that with the new bigger bases, he would like a few stolen bases added onto his career totals.
If Ricky didn't say that, I would be upset at Ricky. If Ricky,
this is entirely a sidebar at this point. In an interview with The Athletic, Ricky Henderson did openly say his only complaint at this point would be he would like a few hundred stolen bases added to his total if the bigger bases exist. Chris Ricky was like, if I was around in these sets of bases, I'd have even more stolen bases.
And he's not wrong.
Which, Ricky, keep being you, dude.
Man.
Keep being you.
We don't have any more Ricky Hendersons.
We don't. We need more Ricky Hendersons in sports. But that's my overall point of, to baseball purists, I just say that to you. The game is not being different. If anything, we're rolling the game back to what you liked before. If someone really sits there and tells me that they liked spending 3.5 hours watching a game with so much of that game being dead time, I don't know what to tell you. Because I am as big of a baseball fan as they can come.
You are.
I am loving this pace because I'm getting everything I want. But I'm done with all the dead time wandering, which was just boring to see. I don't need to see a guy fiddle with his batting gloves every at bat.
Still love you, Locaine.
Still love you, Lorenzo, but I didn't need to see that. And I don't need to see a pitcher take 45 seconds between a pitch. Get the ball, get on the mound, get your sign, throw it. And I don't get how people don't like this. It baffles me.
We got a lot to get to. We will talk more Royals baseball in the 2 o'clock hour. But right now, we're going to get a quick timeout. Coming up next, everyone loves the list. Text me in your favorite wrestling finishing moves. A list in light of WrestleMania. What?
No, it's hard to make this list. That's nothing at you. It's just hard to make this list. Sorry, it's not you. Sorry, there's bad timing.
Okay. Alrighty. Our favorite finishing moves. All right.
It was so hard to make this list.
Everything had a name. Like
yes. Oh, yes. I got names in here.
You can't do like the Hurricane Rana because
No.
everybody can do that. Well, not everybody, but
yeah.
Anyway.
Now, the Frankensteiner, you could put that in there. It was called Scott Steiner.
Who do you got number 4?
Number 4, my favorite powerbomb finishing move, the Batista Bomb. Dave Batista's Batista Bomb, fantastic.
Okay.
Great moment every time.
Okay. Number 4 for me, and I've had to change this. I mean, I had the DDT in there.
Okay.
I had the choke slam in there.
Some good ones.
But I went with, this is my thought. Number 4 is the Tombstone Pile Driver
good one.
by The Undertaker.
That's a good one.
Undertaker I think The Undertaker is on the Mount Rushmore of wrestler.
Oh, I think most would agree with you.
Yeah.
I would agree with you for sure. Number 3 for me, I'm sad it's at number 3, but just where it ended up as I deliberated this, the Stone Cold Stunner.
Okay.
The Stunner is 3 for me. It was great. It was wonderful. It could be higher, but I'm keeping it at 3 for right now.
Number 3 is the wrestling move that so many people did when I was a kid. And I thought he was awesome as a wrestler. But man, the sharpshooter, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Oh,
he put people in the sharpshooter.
Love the sharpshooter.
Cross legs, roll over, and sit back down. Oh, the sharpshooter.
Honorable mention for me, the sharpshooter. And now I have Jim Ross saying sharpshooter in my head, stuck on repeat. Number 2 for me, Sweet Chin Music from Shawn Michaels. Just great stuff right there. Great stuff.
Number 2 is mine. Let's tune the band. It is
tune up the band.
Chin Music. Shawn Michaels. I think Shawn Michaels is the smallest, like he's the of the mega stars in the wrestling world.
Yeah.
I think he's the smallest mega star.
He's one of the smaller ones. Rey Mysterio would like to have a conversation with you.
I think he's above Rey Mysterio.
And that's fair.
Like,
no, that's fair.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I see your point and I validate it.
I don't even think Rey Mysterio is on the same level as Shawn Michaels.
Oh, that's fair. That's a valid point. That's also now Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio to all you out there.
Yep.
Number 1 for me. It was so good and so fun and so entertaining. It went viral across sports transcending pro wrestling. Randy Orton's RKO. It literally RKO out of nowhere was a trending hashtag for so long.
Yeah.
It's great. It's wonderful.
Number 1 for me, and it will forever be number 1 because people did it during school. You'd walk by them and you give them the stunner, baby.
Yeah, you did.
You heard the glass smash, and then the stunner. The Stone Cold
I
Stunner.
love the stunner. It's hard. This entire list was so painful to make.
The stunner. The RKO is a copy of the stunner, except he goes all the way to the ground on his back.
It's a modification on it.
Yes. Yeah, that's imitation is the best form of flattery, right? Coming up next, we're going to talk with Dan Lucero, a little CrossTalk. makers coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. We'll also talk about the NFL free agency and a potential move that maybe the Chiefs could get involved in. We'll get to that coming up as well. Right now, though, we bring in Dan Lucero from 580 Sports Talk. All right, Dan, my very first question we've got for you is our list topic today, due to WrestleMania, which I did not watch a single bit of.
No, me neither.
It was a good one.
I heard it was.
I'm a little pretty far removed from my wrestling era.
But you at least kind of have an idea,
Of course.
of what goes on because it's out there.
No, it's like my entire Twitter timeline is speaking Swahili for 2 straight nights.
Yeah. But it's good, it keeps you up to date. Roman Reigns is back after battling cancer, and then you got the
Definitely a fact that I was aware of.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right. Do you think, what's the percentage of men in their lifetime were into wrestling?
Oh, the percentage of adult American men who had either had a or are in an ongoing professional wrestling phase, easily 85 to 90%.
I'm with you, because
especially our age,
5th, 6th, 7th grade Jake, we would all, there'd be like 15 of us would meet over at one person's house, and every one of us would give $5 to the friend's mom,
who was paying for the
pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It was $49 back then.
It sure was.
And there's 10 of us, and there you go. And we'd watch it on Sundays.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think it's high.
It's absolutely high.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
And I mean, some people, like, I don't want to say you grow out of it, because I think that's insulting. And like, you can enjoy what you enjoy, but some people enjoy it for a while and then don't enjoy it as much anymore when their favorite wrestler murders his family and then kills himself, for instance.
Yeah.
Big fan of the Crippler, huh?
That was my guy.
Oh, that's brutal.
So that put a damper on the whole thing for me there for a while.
For those of you who don't know, that would be Chris Benoit of both the WCW and the WWE. So, okay.
He had cool entrance music. The crossface, great finisher.
Yep.
Speaking of finishing moves, all right, give me your top 3.
So I got the spear / gore, the finishing move employed by Goldberg or Rhino, if you go to the ECW side of things.
I'm with it.
The 5-star frog splash.
Yeah.
Love the acrobatics. And then the coolest looking, the most dangerous looking one, the vertebraker.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, that's a deep cut that I don't think enough people know of.
You hook the arms, you spin around, and you hoist them up so that they're facing, like, their head is on the small of your back, facing away from you. So like they're on your back, and then you, like a reverse pile driver, basically.
Ugh.
Drop them on their
Who
neck.
did that?
Shane Helms.
Who?
Hurricane Helms.
Hurricane, man. Oh, we'll show you a video during the next break of the vertebraker. That's a deep pull, but is a good one. That's a goodie.
You a big Goldberg guy?
Like,
I did not like Goldberg.
The streak was cool because he just show up and beat everybody. It was great. It's like Goldberg facing the German legend Alex Wright. And you're like, okay, this is going to be 1 minute and 20 seconds, if that long. Goldberg gets Disco Inferno for the WCW Championship.
Spear, jackhammer, go home.
You ready for this? I thought Gilbert was way better than anything
Gilbert
Goldberg
was
did.
Wonderful.
Gilbert
Good old
was
Gilbert.
so funny. It was. This has been Talking Wrestling here on Mic'd Up. So we appreciate that 5-minute window. But we're going to move on to Royals baseball.
Okay, we can do that.
Bigger deal. The offense looked legit good, or Brady Singer, when the chips were down, came out and got you the win?
It was really good to see the offense break out, but it wasn't surprising if you look at how hard they were hitting the ball through the first 3 games. It was kind of just a matter of time. If you keep hitting the ball hard and in the air, good things are going to happen eventually for you. And when it rains, it pours, and it poured a little bit last night for the Royals offense. They started hot and they kept it rolling. And I think that's a bigger deal because that's what I think the fan base needed to see. They needed to see that offense erupt in a way that, it's kind of felt like it's capable of when things are going well. And so that was a bigger deal. I think longer term was they had their breakout game. It was an impressive breakout game. I mean, I know Jose Barrios, we're now a couple years from him being really good because he wasn't any good last year.
He's not good.
But that's still a guy with pretty electric stuff at his best. And the Royals treated him like a piñata last night. Like that matters. That's a big deal. So I'd say it's the offense.
Do you think the way that we've seen Matt Quatraro manage and put in his lineup, people are going to have to get used to matchups? Salvador Perez didn't play in the game yesterday, not because he wasn't healthy, not because he can't play. It's because they thought
Barrios has had his number.
And ever since the Royals for a decade, because he was up in 2012, Salvador Perez was. This is not what would happen. I mean, we're talking Salvador Perez would at least have been the DH under the last two managers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different situation now. And it's not like Salvador Perez wasn't hitting the ball. Oh,
he's their best hitter through 3 games, most productive hitter through 3 games.
And then you park him, you sit him. I think this is going to be something that Royals this is also what's great, but also bad about baseball is that the Royals' last 4 hitters, and I won't include their last 5 just for your sake, Fulton, but their last 4 hitters are Dozier, Bradley Jr., Lopez, and Eaton. There's no way the Royals should have scored 9 runs with Dozier, Jackie Bradley Jr., Lopez, and Eaton back there. I look at that, I'm like, sweet, there's 14 outs out of the 27. But because it's baseball, Dozier got a hit, Bradley Jr. got a hit, they both scored runs. Nicky Lopez is hitting triples.
Yeah.
And then Nate Eaton did exactly what Nate Eaton, probably a lot of people thought he would do. He got a golden sombrero. So 0 for 4 with 4 Ks. They shouldn't score 9 runs with that lineup, but because it's baseball, there you go.
They shouldn't get shut out with that lineup either. So, that's the way it works. No, I thought that was interesting for a new manager to sit the captain 4 games in and say, hey, yeah, we're not sitting him because he needs the day off. We're sitting him because historically he hasn't hit Barrios real good, and we need to roll out a 9. It's going to give us the best chance to win, and we don't necessarily think tonight that includes Salvador Perez. It's gutsy, for one, but it, I think, shows, number one, he's in control of the clubhouse, and number 2, that the things informing lineup decisions and things along those lines aren't going to be made by seniority. They aren't going to be made by gut. They're going to be a little more logical, a little more data-driven. And that's what we were promised, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and they named him captain.
Yeah.
They named Salvador Perez. And for some, what's the big deal about that? The Royals have only had 4 captains their entire history, okay? This just doesn't happen easily. It's more of a lifetime achievement, if you will. And, yeah, we're going to bench the cat. When I first saw that, my initial thought was, and you and I sat here yesterday about this time, I'm like, it's great. He's hurt. Because that was the only reason why Salvador Perez, at least the DH, DH, don't tell me that, oh, yeah, we got to give him a full day off. You walk up there and you swing a bat 4 times. Is it that difficult? I don't think so. But now, is it hard to hit a baseball? Yes. But I thought that was interesting. And it's just new. It's different. We're not used to it. Sometimes change is hard. Change of the rules. We put it out there. 30 minutes quicker, more guys on base, more hits, lot more stolen bases. I'm a fan of that. I like the stolen base. I think the stolen base is like the deep throw in football. It's exciting. I like it. All of them good so far?
Yeah, so far so good. I think that there's still the potential for some consequences from the pitch clock down the road that may be a negative.
Talk about wear and tear?
Not necessarily. I thought that.
What are we thinking then?
Well, we had I was talking to my dad about this. I mean, I'm a dad, he's the reason I'm a baseball fan. So he's an old school guy too. And he's in favor of it. He said, yeah, I've watched first handful of games, like the clock so far. We were having a discussion about, it was the Phillies Rangers game, the opening game where the Phillies were up 5-0. They gave up a 9-run inning. And after the game, JT Romito, their catcher, is talking about, well, two things happened in that inning. It avalanched on us fast. I almost couldn't get a breath. And, the pitcher and the catcher, we don't have the opportunity to slow the game down a little bit. Like sometimes when things are spiraling on you, you don't have that chance to go get behind the rubber, get to the rosin bag and like collect yourself. And
well, how many of those do you get? I don't know.
Well, you do. You get. It's 5 mound visits in the first 8 innings. Then you get an extra 1 in the 9th.
What about
yes, teams are going to have to be more proactive about using their mound visits, even if it's just a catcher mound visit, to go out and say, okay, instead of saving them for an emergency, you may have to go and, hey, the emergency might be your pitcher's giving up 3 straight hits, and you got to slow the game down for him and get out there and use the mound visit. So I'm not saying that these consequences, these potential negatives, don't also have fixes, but I do think that that's one possible negative. And the other possible negative is,
hold on, before you get to that, how many times can you step off? Because yesterday,
twice.
You have twice per plate appearance. You may disengage from the rubber.
Okay, so maybe that's what you do. You have to plan ahead to where as you get on the rubber, you're ready. It's down to like 3 seconds. Then you disengage from that plate appearance. Mm-hmm. And then you get that extra 20 seconds. Maybe that's what they have to do to come back. Because I agree with you on the whole, man, I got to do something because this snowball's tracking downhill and I got to do something.
We've seen a couple of games already this year. I think the Angels had an 11-run inning the other day against Oakland. Dodgers had a 7-run inning last night against the Rockies. Those kinds of things can happen when it just feels like momentum is the thing now in baseball in a way that it wasn't before. So by and large, I'm pro all the changes. I knew people were going to like the clock and the shorter games, and people do almost unanimously, it feels like. But we'll see. We'll see how the clock affects, when we get into August and September, how it affects the buildup of tension, the buildup of drama that is kind of one of the fun things about high-stakes baseball. Like, I don't care if we zip through the 9th inning now in April, but maybe we want to savor the 9th inning. I
brought that up.
October.
I said, you get 40 seconds in the NFL to let the play build up and to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Major League Baseball
cutting that in half.
Cutting it in half, and it's. Do you get the build up moment? I that's one question that I have wondered. National championship game last night. It wasn't entertaining.
No. It wasn't.
No.
One team, that's usually what happens when one team is a lot better than the other, and that's what we got last night.
I mean,
one team was a lot better than the other.
Better.
Yeah, one team got a bunch of future NBA guys, and San Diego State had a bunch of 24-year-old dudes who are still in college.
And who probably have another year.
I don't want to say that they didn't belong there or they didn't earn it. They absolutely did. They won 5 games to get there. They belonged in the national title game. They ran into a team that was just a lot better.
Yeah.
A lot better.
I think people remember this Husky team as this was one of the more dominant. To me, the 2 most dominant performances in the NCAA tournament was this one. Obviously, it's very right in the fresh recent. But the 2018 Villanova team.
Yep, that's the one.
Was dynamic. They were awesome. And then I also go back, and Brandon's not going to like this, so I hope he's not listening. That 06 North Carolina team, man, with
05, you mean?
Or 05, yeah. 05 with May and McCants and Felton. Like that team. The team could go, man. They really, really could. But it kind of was they won by double figures, which I'll be interested to see the numbers. Technically, I did not think this. Glad I was proven wrong. But Villanova KU had a worse number than FAU SDSU this year.
In terms of
total viewership,
television rating? Yeah. I think they were down at 12 million, average 12 million, 13 million for the Final Four. I mean,
the individual game, KU Villanova drew less people than FAU SDSU. Thought that was interesting. I really, really did. Because to me, I would have thought, man, Villanova versus KU, how are you not watching that one? But FAU ends up doing it, and we'll find out. We'll see. The transfer portal will be the biggest news there. Bill Self going to speak tomorrow. First time we've heard from Bill since the Texas game.
Well, no, before the start of the Big 12 tournament. Yeah.
That's right. Right before that's right. That's right.
Right before the tournament.
Right before the tournament. I thought maybe it was the Texas game where he was like, they got a day off against Texas. They should be rested. They didn't play against Texas. Any idea what you think, will any question be about basketball or will it be all about his health?
I think there will be some questions about his health. And once he answers those satisfactorily, the question is going to be, okay, you've got like 4 guys on your roster. How are you going to fill out the rest of the roster?
What are you going to do, Bill?
I think
is this as nervous as KU fans have ever been?
It feels like they are, even though KU Hoops is like they've said on Twitter, like this is not anything to be alarmed about. Like coaches do postseason media availability all the time.
To me, KU has handled this very poorly. They've handled it poorly. They were super generic and super like, we're not going to tell anybody anything for the first 2 weeks, and then radio silence. Like, and I don't know because, I mean, it's a gigantic health situation. And maybe it was just, hey, we just need to let the man do what he needs to do for a month.
I mean, it's simple as this, I think, when it comes to the coverage of it. If Bill did not want it to be talked about, KU's going to respect Bill Self once. If Bill Self says, I don't care what everyone's reactions are on the internet, I don't want y'all constantly talking about what my health is. I just want to do this on my time, my privacy.
Do you think
they're going to respect it?
And I'm not saying, it's okay to have the discussion,
yeah.
But a part of me says, well, if Bill everything was totally fine and, oh yeah, because there were people saying, what, is he going to retire? That type of thing, It never been reported, but you had Joe Koo at the water cooler like, so you think Bill Self's going to retire? They could have, Bill could have came out and said, guys, don't worry about that. We're just going like I thought it was very interesting that it was just complete radio silence, like nothing. And maybe it was because NCAA tournament's going on. It's just 2 weeks, but man, for these last 2 weeks, there are some KU fans that they had no clue. And so I didn't know.
Well, it's not their, it's just not their right to know. I think is the only fair rejoinder to that is, like, and now we're going to find out. We're going to hear straight from Bill himself, how he's feeling, what he's been through, and how he's going to build a roster that doesn't have a whole lot of players on it right now.
And one of the players is, Zuby.
And certainly it will be beneficial for him to go out and address some things, because I am sure that there are people on the recruiting trail right now who are saying, hey, this is what we're hearing about Bill Self. We've been, because if
he's told those people, he's had to have told the recruits.
You never know.
I would think he would. I think that's a unique situation if he doesn't. But yeah, I'm excited just to hear everything because I want Bill Self to come back. I want to. I am, because it's almost what K-State did last year. I mean, they had 2 guys on the roster.
Yeah.
KU's got how many?
4.
It is 4.
It's just 4.
They have
right?
Juwan Harris, they have Ernest Duday, they have Zuby Ejiofor, they have Kyle Cuff.
And they might not still have Kyle Cuff.
Exactly.
They probably won't have Kyle Cuff. They're gonna have 3.
That's incredible. Like
it's about to be a lot of work. It's about to be a lot of work.
KU fans, it's going to be a different team next year, no question. Dan, we appreciate it. What do you got coming up this afternoon?
We're going to talk about which program you'd rather have been a fan of for the last 25 years, UConn or KU. We're also going to talk about the Royals bat surging and some other fun stuff too.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Coming up, we will get to NFL free agency. Got some odd makers here for the final hour of Mic'd Up. mic'd up on this Tuesday, a victory Tuesday for the Kansas City Royals. Chris Bubich on the bump. He's another guy that you wonder, how is he going to perform with this new pitching staff and new leadership? So far, it was nice to see different type of Brad Keller. We'll see if Chris Bubich can find a way to get it done. Craig Brown, big Bubich guy. I know you had Craig on the show Friday. He thinks Bubich's going to have a good bounce back year.
He's with Bubich. Bubich is Bubich and Lynch, I think, are the two young guys who could really take a step forward under this new entire regime. But Bubich's thing is, he has some stuff that does work. There's other things that have often not worked. The other benefit to Chris Bubich is he is the most cerebral, analytically minded pitcher who has been always most open to technical and very data-driven tweaks. It makes him more built.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You said cerebral?
Yes.
Well, there was like a 4-word description of Bubich. Cerebral.
Bubich is very, to simplify, Bubich is very receptive to numbers-based arguments.
Well, no, I was talking about what you used. What did you say?
I believe the phrase used was cerebral and analytically driven.
Okay.
I believe was the word I used.
I'll really shorten it. Nerd.
Yeah, he went to Stanford.
He's a nerd.
Yeah, and
he's a nerd.
And the benefit is
he's a nerd.
It means that anyone might be the most willing and open to try anything, he won't be reticent to it because he's like, the numbers say I should try this, so let's do it.
Nerd looks at nerd stuff and says, yeah.
And plus, the biggest thing for me with Chris Bubich has always been, I think it's been less his stuff, more his mental makeup, that Bubich is really susceptible to being snowballed on the mound and getting inside his own head.
Ooh, that's not great with pitch clock.
It's not, but an entire offseason work with it. The Royals have really improved their mental health staff and putting the mental health staff more at the forefront of the team. I think there's other changes in addition to just the new data might help Chris unlock some better things. I think there's a lot of things in place that could help Chris take a big step forward. So I am very intrigued to see what Chris Bubich does on the mound tonight. I know it could be very bad. I also think it could be very good. It's also fancy a Toronto lineup that likes to kill lefties. So that's the other dangerous part. Their best hitters are all righties.
What if his very first start, he doesn't get out of the first and we're already at
I'll be a little disappointed and a little worried.
Because
I can't lie to you.
We had the over-under on 1.5 starts where he doesn't get an out in the second inning.
Mm-hmm.
And we both said, no, he's going to be better this year.
I'm hoping we don't start off on the wrong foot. But again, it was his first start last year that was really bad. So
bad.
Hoping it's
so
something.
Bad.
I'm putting faith in you, Chris. I'm putting faith. Maybe we're actually going to see Chris Bubich throw a slider. The thing that they were all tatting about how he worked on all last offseason, and then for some inexplicable reason, he never, ever threw it. Cough, cough, Cal Eldred, cough, cough.
If he goes out there and gets shelled, I'm just going to laugh.
I'm not going to be okay. I can't lie. I will not be okay.
I'm just going to laugh.
It's going to be a real big bummer.
Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Let us know your thoughts. Check us out on YouTube. Go to Sports on 580. Click the subscribe button. Very simple, very easy. And let us know as well in the show comments if you'd like to. So let us know. Right now, though, the big news that's circulating in the NFL outside of the draft is DeAndre Hopkins. Albert Breer had to say this from Sports Illustrated. Albert Breer was asked about DeAndre Hopkins and his trade value and situation, and here is what he had to say about it.
Like if Hopkins' price were to come down, I mean, some teams, Greg, think they're going to cut him. I think the Cardinals are going to wind up cutting him.
Wow.
His market is not great right now. And even for teams like Kansas City, Kansas City would need him to take a significant pay cut.
Yeah, he'd have to be take the Smith-Schuster deal from a year ago.
Right. So Like I clearly there's nobody that was willing to take on the contract and pay the Cardinals' initial price. Like I think for a team like the Patriots, it would take it either being no draft pick compensation or way down from Arizona's initial ask and an adjustment to the contract. And that obviously gives, Hopkins considerable control over the situation, because if you're going to change the contract, then you have to go to him.
Lot to unpack there. One, some teams think they're going to cut him. Two, he's going to take a big pay cut and all that. Why are the Cardinals going to release him? Just flat out release him. You ready for this? I was like, okay, maybe they're in some cap situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got the 5th most cap space. They got $21 million in cap space, almost $22 million in cap space. Why are you cutting the guy? Like, are you in rebuild mode already? Like,
yes, the answer is yes.
Well, then why did they give Kyler Murray $150 million guarantee?
Because Steve Keim was an idiot.
Okay, well, at least we have a baseline.
Like that. Arizona is in this position because they were run by Tweedledee and Tweedledum for the past several years, when they had a moron and Steve Keim at the helm and had a guy who's never really been that great of a coach in Cliff Kingsbury. Like, that's why they're in this position.
Or Kingsbury's so smart, he got an extension and then they fired him the next year.
Another piece of evidence of why Steve Keim's an absolute dunderhead.
Okay.
Like, I try not to be too mean to certain executives. I did use the phrase dunderhead. Steve Keim is just a certified bonehead. Like, he's not smart. There's nothing he did in Arizona that makes you go, wow, that guy was intelligent.
But still, if you are in rebuild mode, why would you release him?
So that becomes the $1 million question.
Because you're still on the hook
for $22 million.
For the money.
Yeah, you're on the hook for $22 million if you cut DeAndre Hopkins. Now you can, if you post June 1 him, you can split that to 11 this year, 11 next year, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, you're not making a lot of financial moves if you do cut bait with DeAndre Hopkins. So that's where the cutting gets really fascinating to me. Unless the Cardinals are in some other weird financial hole that just we are not aware of. I don't see why they would cut DeAndre Hopkins. Because if it's not finances why you're getting rid of him, it's just accelerate a rebuild. Well, then you need to get some sort of compensation. And that's where the trade comes in. Now there's a level of as well for the Cardinals. If the trade market doesn't exist and shopping DeAndre has destroyed the relationship to where he ain't going to really play for you, then, maybe that's where the cutting comes in. I don't know. The reports of him being cut is the one that has me most quizzical, because I don't know why. But Arizona is 100% in a rebuild. And maybe DeAndre is saying, I do not want to be part of a rebuild, trade me or cut me.
Yeah,
that's totally possible. DeAndre is saying, I will not play a snap for you. I do not want to risk what I have left on your bummy team. And it could be.
The reason why I understand that nobody's wanting it is that, well, we want a 2nd round pick. Okay. You'd get that 2nd round pick if you were 27 and not 32.
He will be 31 this year.
31?
No, 31.
You know what I mean? Like, I understand that, like AJ Brown, right? AJ Brown was traded from the Titans to the Eagles for a 1st round pick. Yeah. I get that.
Because AJ Brown was still like mid-20s.
So that's the reason why I understand that.
Yeah, like the price is different than what Arizona wants. Plus, it's simple as this. Arizona also would not want to eat the money. That's what they also don't want to do. Well, if you don't eat the money, then teams are going to take less than draft capital. Are going to give you less draft capital, because now they have to, take on all of that. That's what there's conversation as well about, if he gets traded, would there be an altered contract and things like that? So that's the place that Arizona's in, is that what they're trying to do, or what I assume they're trying to do, which made the most sense as far as like breaking down these reports. Arizona's trying to get both high draft capital and to not pay DeAndre Hopkins, and no team is every team's just like, no dice, brother, no.
Yeah, your poker hand.
For what it's worth, Arizona, that's worth asking. It's worth seeing if anyone will meet that price. And so now it comes down to what are they willing to part with, and that's the fascinating juncture.
And to bring this back to the Chiefs, where Albert Breer even names the Chiefs by name.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, the only way that it's going to happen is if it's a $10 million deal. I mean, it's got to be kind of the Juju deal where it's a 1-year deal, lot of incentives.
And that's a potential. I don't know if DeAndre would take something like that, but he could.
Somebody would offer that. If he does get cut, the Chiefs have no chance. And the reason why is, we don't have to give up any draft picks, and then we can start negotiating. I don't think the Chiefs would end up getting. So for those of you who still think, let's trade for DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, at least there from Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, there's really not much of a chance that the Chiefs are going to go out and try to get DeAndre Hopkins or DeAndre Hopkins at this point in time. I just don't see that happening today. This is interesting. Former Cardinals executive Terry McDonough filed an arbitration claim today to Roger Goodell against the Cardinals owner Michael Bidwell, alleging cheating, discrimination, and harassment. Bidwell said the claims are baseless.
This is the good time for all of us to learn about how much of a bad owner the Bidwell is. The Bidwells are.
Boy,
it's mainly Michael Bidwell. But
the Cardinals.
The entire organization is an absolute mess.
Yeah.
An absolute mess. Like, I would feel bad for an Arizona Cardinal fan right now because, like, this thing's just broken. Like, they paid Kyler Murray all that money, and he might not play till halfway through this year, the back half of this year. They're entering a rebuild while paying their quarterback all this money.
Mm-hmm.
They fire their head coach and are going to pay him some money after a year after getting his extension because that was moronic. They're still paying their old GM because they gave him an extension. Bad teams stay bad for very certain reasons.
Yeah.
And this is part of it.
The other Chiefs news, they signed Deion Bush, which...
Good for Deion. Welcome back.
That basically means the Chiefs... I don't think the Chiefs are going to draft a corner or a safety in this draft.
I don't think so. I think they would be tempted to take corner if it fell perfectly right in like the 4th or the 5th. Like if just one of their guys in that spot were like, we would love him right here, or a guy they would have liked somewhere earlier just falls randomly, and they're like, we'll take a chance on you. That's the only time I feel like they might, but even then, I don't know if they will.
And the reason is they've got 4 corners for next year already, but I just don't see them taking a corner because if they do take a corner in the first 3 rounds, then that means L'Jarius Sneed is not coming back to the Chiefs.
More than likely, yeah.
Because why would you sign L'Jarius Sneed that already have 3 corners on a contract for 4 years, 1 for 5, and then sign another corner?
Yeah.
I just don't see that happening.
No, I get that.
And then they're not going to sign a safety.
They already got 4 in the room.
You already got 4 in the room, and I don't see them going after a safety for long term.
Actually got 5 in the room. Got Brian Cook, Justin Reed, Mike Edwards, Deion Bush, and Ozzie Johnson. Which Nazee's mainly a special teamer, but he still counts as a safety for purposes of field. But
I don't count him as a safety. It's fair. He's special teams.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's special.
That's fair.
So I think this is going to be a heavy D-line, O-line, wide receiver.
I feel like that's what I'm with you. I really think that's what they're going to do.
Is this the year where they take multiple wide receivers? Like, do they do a first-round pick and a third-round pick?
They
like,
might.
You know, what they did at corner this last year? Is that something that they look at?
They really might. They might use this as a time of like, we're just going to fully restock. They could. Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me if they take multiple offensive linemen. Whether they get one to be a tackle, and I want to take an interior guy. With the idea of, we don't want this to happen, but maybe we'll need to replace one of those interior 3 coming up sooner rather than later. So we're going to already get out ahead of it. I don't know what the plan's going to be.
It's so wide open.
I really do think this is a trenches heavy draft, and then receivers in another spot. Trenches and receivers, what they're probably going to do. So a lot of big meaty boys are probably coming to town.
I don't see linebacker either.
No, you drafted Leo Chanel last year. You have Nick Bolton. I mean, you have Nick Bolton. You have Willie Gay. You just signed Drew Tranquil. I know Drew's 1 year, but I mean, unless you think you're going to move on from Willie and that you think Leo Chanel can't be some level of replacement for Willie, then maybe you get aggressive.
I don't think so.
But I wouldn't imagine it.
I think a bunch of these, I think corner, I think safety, I think linebacker. We know they're not drafting a running back. I think that, it's not best player available to me. It's you gotta have O-line, D-line, wide receiver, and then maybe tight end. But you're looking at a project there because they've got 4 tight ends on the roster right now. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to draft one now unless you think one of those
the only reason you would do it now is this is a really deep tight end draft, and you don't get a lot of deep tight end drafts. And so the idea, but then it comes down to how do you feel about Noah Gray still?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you feel about that? What do you think about Jody Fortson and Blake Bell? I know you brought them both back, but let's be brutally honest, it's not like either of them are uncuttable if you got a rookie tight end who outshone them both.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm fascinated with the Chiefs too, because this is a very interesting way the roster is stacking up right now.
How much do you think they're not going to sign anybody until after May 9th?
I think there's a good chance, both from a compensatory pick formula standpoint and I think the Chiefs are comfortable with the veterans on their roster and think draft picks can fill other holes. And then if they have anything left after the draft, they go, okay, that's when we get the other veterans in the room. Like, that's what I think. I think they have filled all of their pre-draft holes that they needed to fill. I think they are at a point now where they're comfortable with anything left going. We're going to use draft picks to fill this. And then just whenever the draft's done, they can shake it out and reevaluate and go, all right, this is what we did after the draft. If we need a couple of things or if injuries crop up as we go, then we'll start going into that area.
Okay.
I think that's where they've landed on here, is they no longer have any spot where they're like, man, we really don't want to use a draft pick. They would have liked the extra safeties in the room to all be veteran guys. So that's why they got Edwards and Bush. If they wanted an extra linebacker, they would rather have used a veteran than a draft pick. Hence that. They wanted to definitely get a veteran edge who could really step in. Hello, Charles Omenihu. And they wanted a long-term left tackle, and Juwan Taylor was right there.
We'll get into more draft talk tomorrow. Coming up next, we got a little odds makers here on Mic'd Up. What are the odds the Royals lose 100 games, Fulton? They are on pace to lose 100 games, just to let you know. Their winning percentage of 25%, but let's do the win-loss, the Pythagorean, all that kind of stuff. Right now they're at a 406. For those of you wondering, a 407 97 losses. So they're on the Pythagorean route to be at 97, 98 percentage. What are the odds that they lose 100?
We're down to 1%, Jake. 1%.
You have decreased it. It was at 3%.
Correct. So I continue to keep track of this data.
I know. I'm glad you do. You should.
Yeah, last week I was at 3%. We began this exercise at 5%. It may never creep back up ever again. Yeah, it will. There's a bad thing that's going to happen. It's going to put my mind just in a terrible place. Because they did it last year.
Do you remember last year when I asked you, I'm like, what are the odds that the Royals have the worst record in franchise history? And you were like, 70%.
I wasn't in a good place. I won't lie. It wasn't great.
Okay.
It wasn't great. But after that offense last night, the way they're rolling it, pitchers looking great.
Feeling good.
Dylan Coleman, I think he might need to go of a trip to Omaha to maybe fix some things out. But no, overall, it's been pretty great, and that delights me. So I'm gonna ride the positive train for as long as I can. That they are going to be a not 100-loss club. They can still get to 70. They can still get to 70. It's gonna happen. It'll happen. Don't worry, everybody. It'll happen. Jake, what are the odds the Kansas City Chiefs trade up in the first round when the draft comes at the end of this month?
Oh, I'm going to go with 30%.
Okay.
I don't think
it's a good number.
I don't think they're going to, but it's not a, 5% chance.
Yeah. If the board falls right and is talking to them, they'll take a chance. It's a Trent McDuffie situation where if a guy falls.
Yep. The difference is last year, I think they had a better chance of doing that because they had the 2 first-round picks.
Oh, that's true. You had more capital.
And they had more capital. This year, they don't.
They got some, but not as much as last year.
Correct.
That's true.
Okay. What are the odds the Royals get within 15 games of the leader? Right now, they are 3 games back.
Yeah.
Okay. Last year, they were 27 back. The year before that, they were 19. I don't count 2020.
No, fake year.
2019, they were 42.
We don't talk about that.
They were 42.
We don't talk about that.
And they finished 4th.
We don't talk about that.
They were 42 games behind the Indians.
Yeah.
Guardians. Well, Indians.
They were Indians that day.
33 in 2018, 22 in 2017. They finished 3rd that year, 22 games back. 13 and a half in 2016, finished 3rd.
And they were in 1st in 2015.
And then 1 game back in 2014.
Yeah.
So, what are the odds they finish within 15 games of first place?
I'll give it a cool, crisp 20%. I'm not as confident yet that they'll do it. Plus, I think they still believe that they can finish her on 3rd is their high mark. And, the Twins are still undefeated. They're rolling right now, and I think they'll be really good. So, you could finish 3rd and still be like 18 games out of 1st. So I don't think it's a big number right now. So I'll say I'll settle at 20. I'll settle at 20.
You predict them to win 74 games.
Yeah.
So that means you
finish 16 games out from Minnesota there. Minnesota to win 90?
90 games.
Yeah. I think the Twins win 90 plus games. I really think Minnesota wins like 92, 93.
Okay.
I really like Minnesota. Like, I think that the way their roster is built is a good roster. Because I think that pitching staff is going to be really dang good.
We get it. You're a Wind Surge fan. You're from Wichita.
That's
They're
not
part of the Twins organization.
That's not the reason.
Your second favorite team is the Twins.
No. Do not put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. My second favorite team is not the Twins.
What do you have a second favorite team?
Not like per se. Like, I like the Royals are a team I really like. I have other teams mainly in the National League that because of players they have and other things that I want them to win. Like, I want the Phillies to succeed because I love Bryce Harper.
You love the Cardinals?
No, I do not. Hush your mouth. No, but the Phillies are a team I like to see win because I like Bryce Harper and I like Trey Turner now, and he's over there, so that helps it. The Giants, Gabe Kapler as a person is an enjoyable person in San Francisco. So like when the Royals don't play the Giants, I'm cool with the Giants doing well. Which hope that doesn't bother Dan too much that I'm okay with the National League West team that's not the Rockies doing well. And then on the front, I hope the Rockies and Cubs do well because then Brendan and Dan are happy. So I wouldn't say I have a second team that I'm a fan of, but I have plenty of teams in other parts where I'm just like, because of one or two players, I'm okay when they do well. And most are scattered in the National League. American League, the Mariners have grown on me a little bit because they're just fun. So I hope the Mariners usually do good things. But like for the most part, there's very few American League teams that I'm like, oh yeah, I like you guys because they're usually in direct conflict with the Royals. The Twins are probably the one AL Central team that I'm like, okay, when they do well. But that's just because one of my good friends is the Twins fan. So it's like, oh, okay, Twins can win. That's fine. I hope the Guardians, Tigers, and White Sox lose every game. It's very entertaining.
I don't mind the Twins.
Yeah, I don't mind them. Like, I would never call myself to any level of liking them, but I don't mind them. Also, because I've gone to, weirdly enough, I see Kimi to only go to Royals Twins games lately. Twins fans are cool. I've met a bunch of out-of-town Twins fans. They're the chillest people. If your fan base is good people, I'm always cool with at least you succeeding when my team isn't involved.
So you're a big Bama fan?
No.
Okay.
Bama's fine. Bama's cool.
Okay. Yeah.
It's fun to say Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. I had a cousin of mine, for no reason other than he just found it funny to say one holiday where we were all together as a family, which is constantly saying Roll Tide. No rhyme or reason, nothing to it.
Roll Tide.
We're just a lot of Roll Tide. And I'm like, this is kind of funny, but also what is going on here?
We need KU fans to do that, but say Rock Chalk. When you leave somebody.
Rock Chalk.
Rock Chalk. That's what you would say if you were like Bill Self, if he'd go all Russell Wilson.
Yeah, he would end every press conference with Rock Chalk.
Rock Chalk. Broncos country. Let's ride. K-State would be email. Email. But that doesn't have the same kind of flair as
it doesn't. Nothing has the same kind of flair as Roll Tide. Nothing has that flair to it.
Roll Tide.
There's just something about it that just it hits you just right. It truly does.
It does. Coming up next, we'll get to some Royals baseball and what Brady Singer is excited about with this new pitching staff. We will get to much more tomorrow. One, we'll get our Masters picks. Tiger Woods met with the media today. Tiger Woods, very pro roll the ball back. I'm with him. Why is this so difficult? The pros play a ball that doesn't go as far. Me, an amateur, plays with the current ball. How is that difficult? Why is this hard?
I don't know. People like to complain about stuff, like to not deal with certain things. I don't know.
If you're a pro golfer and you're playing in a pro event, let's say you want to play in the U.S. Open, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You're a pro. That's a pro event, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pros go there.
Yeah.
You got to play a pro ball. That means if you want to try to qualify for the U.S. Open, you got to play one of the pros balls that they use. Me? I ain't trying to go pro. Give me the current ball that flies forever. Why is this hard? No one wants to, like, at least for me, I don't want to see driver wedge every hole. That's what they do now.
Yeah.
I like the driver 8-iron, driver 5-iron. Like, this is not difficult. They're making it so difficult. Congrats. I just solved your problems. Oh, boo-hoo. You got to hit an 8-iron instead of a wedge. Makes it harder for you. They're doing the opposite of what baseball's doing.
Yeah, actually, yes. Which is strange.
Yeah, make it harder. Don't make it as easy.
Yeah.
Where baseball's like, hey, we're going to make it easier for you to get on base. Make it harder. It's not that difficult. He's also very pro bring back the cuts, like non-cut events. He's
Yeah,
like, no,
pro keep the cuts.
Yeah, you need a cut.
Should be I believe his words were, still be a penalty for playing poorly.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, that's fair. kind of hard to justify getting a reward if you finish the weekend of like, man, I went out there and finished the entire weekend at 35 over. Still made some money though. It's like, really?
I'm with you.
Now 17 over the first 2 days, and you got to play the other 2?
I'm with you. Ain't difficult.
No.
If I want to go play in the Topeka City Stroke Play, get to play the amateur ball. Get to play it's not a pro event.
No.
Go play that ball.
Yeah.
I want to go try the mini tours, then I got to play a different ball.
Yeah.
Stop making things hard. It's not. It really, really isn't.
This has been Golf Talk with Jake and Fulton.
And we'll get our picks tomorrow for the Masters.
We will. I'm still trying to settle on mine.
Really?
Yeah. Made a few alterations.
You going to Tiger?
No. Oh, spoiler at the list. Do not have Tiger on the picks.
No Tiger.
Do you have Tiger?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not.
Didn't think so. Love Tiger. Kind of hard to sometimes put him a pick for official when we're trying to get some scores in here. Can't make too many picks with the old heart.
Yeah.
Got room for like one of those.
Yep. Royals in action tonight.
Yeah, they are.
Brady Singer was asked before his start about his year last year, leading into this year, analytics. And I think this was a very telling answer from the Royals number one.
Obviously trying to improve on what I had. I had a good year last year, but obviously want to learn more and continue to get better. Yeah, it's definitely different. Like you said, a lot of new voices in the pitching department, but I mean, they've brought a lot. And I think the main thing we're talking about is analytical stuff. I mean, you can see it each day. I mean, we have it out there. We're all looking into it, and I'm not a huge analytical guy, but I'm learning more and more each day, and I'm really enjoying it. They do a really good job of communicating that information and almost dumbing it down a little bit to where we understand it much easier.
So there you go. There is something a little bit different. We know that Chris Bubich is a numbers nerd.
Mm-hmm.
He's very into spin rate. And I remembered, during COVID that they had talks, about how Bubich is so in depth with spin rate and all of that kind of stuff. Singer's not. He just said so right there.
Not really a numbers guy.
I'm not really a big analytics guy, but this is a pitching staff that is big on that, but also I hate the word analytics. I've said this a lot on this show.
Yeah, I've been crusading right there alongside you, buddy.
The word is information.
Yes.
This is
all it is.
Info. Now,
that's all it is.
I think if you do every single thing with the info that you got and you go away from your gut, I think you're a fool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of the non-objective numbers out there, looking at a guy. Wow, that guy just looks like he saw a ghost right now. He is not there. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna pull him. I think there is a mixture of both, but if you don't use the information that you have, I think you're a fool.
Yeah, the right spot is a balance between both. It is using the information to help make decisions, but at times being willing to go against that, not really against the information, but to still make a call of just, I'm still going to go with what I'm thinking here.
Mm-hmm.
Like the best organizations do both. They use both. So that's the hard part that I think people are trying to get across as well is, they hear about an organization being data driven and analytically driven, and they get all up in arms about it. And you need that. Organizations that completely ignore that data are ignorant, and it doesn't often help them. But then also organizations that only do things by the numbers and spreadsheets, that is a poor decision as well. There is a balance you need to strike.
And I wonder if this, to me, I think this would just make Singer that much better.
Yeah.
You've got Keller doing something completely different. You got Bubich doing stuff differently. They probably didn't even talk to Greinke because Greinke.
No, Zach just gets to as Zach wants to.
He's weird. But I wonder about Singer. I think maybe this could benefit him in a way that maybe he didn't even know. So I'm excited about Singer. That's why it was fun to watch it yesterday.
Yeah.
He didn't have his dynamite stuff. It was not his A stuff. It was more, I think, of B stuff,
Mhm.
Didn't have a lot of swinging misses, only 3 strikes, walked a couple guys, had to have some great defensive help behind him.
Mhm.
Shout out Nick Lopez.
Yeah.
But he found a way to go 5 innings, allowed just 1 run and 2 hits. That is it. His whip, which I do think whip is a good stat.
It's one of the better baseline
whip.
stats. It's one of the better baseline stats.
It's no VORP, but I do like whip.
Yeah.
And that's base runners per inning.
Yeah, walks plus hits per inning pitched.
And right now, Brady Singer's whip is 1, 1.0. He's had 5 base runners in
5 innings.
5 innings. It's 1. If you allow 1 base runner per inning, you're really damn good.
Yeah, you're golden there. Like a good whip is anywhere between 1 and like 1.2.
Yeah,
it's usually a good spot. It's when you get a little higher, you get a little more problem. So no, he had a good first start, and it was delightful.
Let's play a fun game real quick.
Okay.
Who of the starters last year?
Mm-hmm.
And they list 1, 2, 3, 4. They list 6 starters last year.
Okay.
What was the highest whip and who had it?
Oh, it's got to be Brad Keller. I'm gonna guess Brad Keller of like 1.9.
That would be incorrect.
Okay. Do I get a second guess?
His whip was 1.5.
Okay, it was still bad. Okay.
Not great.
Yeah. Do I get a second guess here?
Sure, why not?
Daniel Lynch.
Daniel Lynch had a whip of 1.57.
Oh boy.
So no.
Dang. Chris Bubich.
Chris Bubich had a whip of 1.698. So a whip of
higher.
1.7.
Yeah.
And that was the worst for a starter.
There it is.
He's going tonight.
Can Chris get the walks under control? Walks have been his bugaboo. It's been finding consistency in the strike zone and figuring it out. I'm intrigued by it. I'm also intrigued by it here. The Royals lineup today is interesting.
But they just released it?
Oh, it's been released they released a little bit earlier, but we had other things going on. But yeah, it's out. They're facing a lefty in Yusei Kikuchi tonight.
Hold on. I want to look at this. And
okay.
I can get you my reaction real quick.
Give me your reaction looking at that lineup.
All right. Okay.
Because it's something. Yeah, you're making the faces I thought you'd make looking at it.
They go by numbers, man. I'm telling you, this is a guy who just smashed.
Yep.
Who just bashed, mashed, and was like,
destroyed a baseball.
Not even.
Yeah. For those of you at home, here is the Royals lineup tonight. Leading off, your shortstop is Bobby Witt Jr. Batting second and left field is Edward Olivares. Batting third, your catcher Salvador Perez back in the lineup
right now. No issue.
Then we're about to get a little interesting. Batting fourth, your designated hitter, Franmil Reyes.
He's been terrible.
Batting fifth, your third baseman, Matt Duffy. Matt Duffy has a home run this year in his 1 start. We can't complain about Matt Duffy just yet. Batting sixth, this is where we're getting more dicey, is your first baseman, Hunter Dozier. Then we have Jackie Bradley Jr. in center, Nate Eaton in right, Nicky Lopez at short. As you can tell, there are 2 left-handers in this lineup tonight. And here is why. Yusei Kikuchi's splits are part of this reason, for good or for bad. Much like I said with Salvador Perez and his history against Jose Barrios yesterday, for good or for bad, there is logic behind what's happening here. Yusei Kikuchi in his career versus left-handed batters, he allows a .210 batting average. Just makes life miserable. Their slugging percentage under 400. It's hard for them to do anything against him. Right-handers, .276 batting average, a .508 slugging percentage. Right-handers feast on Yusei Kikuchi. So for whatever it is worth, and I get any complaint that Vinny Pasquantino and MJ Melendez are not in this lineup. I understand. I get it. Those are logical reactions. The fact of the matter is, by the splits, Yusei Kikuchi is demonstratably worse against right-handed hitters, so it makes sense to stack the lineup with right-handed batters.
All right. We don't have enough time to get into this topic.
No, we do not.
But we are going to talk about it tomorrow.
Because we're going to know if it worked or not.
Well, it's more so
in the grand scheme of things.
It's more so short term versus long term.
Yeah.
When it comes to this roster construction with no Pasquantino, which means we won't get to see the Pasquatch walking around.
No Pasquatch tonight.
But no, we're going to talk about this more because the way they're doing things, I do find it interesting. And right now, I'm gonna take 21 hours to think about it.
Okay.
And then at noon tomorrow, we're going to talk about this.
I'm cool with it.
Right now, though, we're going to get a quick timeout. We'll have the mic drop coming up next. After your mic drop.
Very simple. Royals won last night. It was awesome. I'd prefer them to do it again. More importantly, though, I am incredibly interested to see how Chris Bubich turns out tonight. It could be good. It could be bad. It could be somewhere in between. I'm just fascinated to see the first start of Chris Bubich under this entirely new pitching staff.
Take it, yes or no? 5 innings, 3 runs.
Oh, gladly take it.
It's not a quality start.
I don't care. That keeps you in a ball game.
Okay.
That keeps you in a ball game right there.
I wonder what Bill Self's going to say tomorrow. I really am interested in this press conference. I really, really am. What's going to be said? We'll find out tomorrow.
What does he tell all the haters out there?
11 o'clock. We'll get to that. Brendan Dorzinski will be at the presser. Coming up next, we got 580 Sports Talk. If you're missing, head to our website, 580wibw.com. We'll talk Royals. We'll talk some K-State. We'll talk some Chiefs. Should be a lot of fun tomorrow. Talk to you tomorrow at noon.